To Mars City Race, NASA versus SpaceX. Who will win? In the latest developments, NASA has finally given its green signal for the first crewed mission to Mars. This will be a gigantic step for mankind. At last, we will have a new home besides Earth. But this is not the end of the story. We have to cross so many hurdles before reaching there. And it's not going to be easy either. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's SpaceX is gearing up for its first crewed mission to Mars, with Starbase as the launch pad. It will take just 40 minutes to reach the red planet. The two-way communication system between Earth and Mars will allow constant feedback between the astronauts and mission control. So who will win the race to colonize Mars, NASA or SpaceX? Let's find out in today's episode of Great SpaceX. NASA, K-Lie. Human beings will set foot on Mars by the year 2033. In fact, it will be a significant moment for America when they achieve what no other nation has been able to do so far. But how exactly are they planning to pull it off? Well, it won't be a walk in the park, but the plan is as follows. First, we need to develop new technologies that can carry humans to Mars. For that, NASA has asked its engineers to design a spacecraft that must meet certain specifications. It should be capable of carrying for people a metric ton of cargo, and most importantly, it must survive a landing on Mars. Moreover, the spacecraft should have a unique design so that it can endure multiple launches and landings. To meet these standards, NASA has proposed 3 designs: the Space Launch System, or SLS, Orion spacecraft, and the Gateway Space Station. With this, NASA intends to transport crew and cargo to Mars. Sounds ambitious. It certainly is. But here's where things get tricky. You see, it's one thing to land on Mars, and quite another to return home safely. Remember, once they reach the planet's surface, they only have a narrow window of opportunity to make their return journey possible. And if they miss that chance, well, let's just say it won't be pretty. Getting stuck on Mars isn't exactly an ideal situation, you know, but NASA is apparently confident about their plan. They have a backup plan for their Mars mission. If something goes wrong during the return journey, the crew can always use the Gateway Space Station as a way station to refuel and repair their ship. But if that fails, the astronauts will have no choice but to stay on Mars and hope for the best. Plan C doesn't exist. If that sounds like a long shot, it's because it is. Just ask NASA astronaut Scott Kelly, who spent a year in space aboard the International Space Station and returned home to discover that he had aged significantly more than his identical twin brother who stayed on Earth. Living off the planet takes its toll on your body, and Mars is much farther away than the ISS. So yeah, it's going to be quite the adventure for these brave astronauts. On the other hand, SpaceX Elon Musk has hinted at a revolutionary approach to the crewed missions to Mars. If all goes according to plan, the Starship spacecraft will be ready to launch by next summer. This alone could change everything. Why, you might ask? Well, because Starship is being designed to fulfill every requirement for a Mars mission. As Elon Musk himself said, Starship will revolutionize life on Earth and enable us to become multiplanetary. And there's a reason behind his confidence. Let's look into it. SpaceX's Mars plans revolve around the Starship rocket, which will serve as both a crew carrier and a cargo ship. Once fully operational, the Starship will launch from Starbase, which is currently under construction in South Texas. Interestingly, this base was initially planned for Falcon Heavy rockets, but due to budget constraints, SpaceX decided to shift to Starship instead. Compared to NASA's SLS rocket, Starship is relatively small. However, it is designed to be reusable, which means SpaceX can lower its operational costs and launch frequency. According to Musk, each Starship will cost around $10 million. That's a fraction of the $4 billion price tag for NASA's SSL rocket. Therefore, once Starship becomes operational, SpaceX can easily afford to launch multiple flights per week to Mars. On the flip side, NASA will be limited to just a few launches annually, primarily due to funding issues rather than technological limitations. Now let's talk about speed. Traveling to Mars is no joke. It takes time, and a lot of it. The fastest route would cover a distance of over 70 million kilometers and would still take about 9 months. But fear not, because SpaceX has a solution for that as well. Starship is equipped with a powerful engine capable of traveling at a speed of 16,777 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, it's almost 20 times faster than the Apollo spacecraft that took astronauts to the moon. Now, Thanks to Starship's advanced propulsion system, the journey to Mars will be a breeze, so it will take just 40 minutes for the spacecraft to reach its destination. That means the astronauts won't have to endure a long voyage and can start their Martian adventure right away. Now, that's what I call efficient space travel. Apart from that, the most critical aspect of any space mission is communication. After all, astronauts can't be left in the dark, literally. They need to stay connected to Earth to receive instructions and updates, and that's where Starlink comes into play. SpaceX's satellite internet service is perfectly suited for interplanetary communication. Imagine having high-speed internet on Mars. It would be a game-changer, allowing the crew to communicate with Earth in real time. Thanks to Starlink's low latency, communication between Mars and Earth will be almost instantaneous. And let's be honest, it would be pretty cool to have Wi-Fi on Mars, don't you think? Not only that, but SpaceX has also developed a plan for landing and taking off from Mars. It's called the Mars Landing System, or MLS. This vehicle will be crucial for transporting astronauts from the Starship to the surface of Mars and back. You see, when the Starship arrives at Mars, it will hover above the surface and release the Mars Landing System. Then the MLS will gently lower the astronauts to the ground. Once their exploration is complete, the astronauts will board the MLS again and return to the Starship. This process ensures that the valuable Starship remains safe on the surface, while the crew enjoys a comfortable and safe landing and takeoff experience. What about oxygen, you may ask? Well, that's not a problem either. You see, the atmosphere on Mars may be thin, but it still contains a sufficient amount of CO2 that can be converted into oxygen through a process known as Sabatier reaction. Moreover, recent discoveries have revealed that beneath the Martian surface lies a vast ocean of liquid water. This suggests that Mars was once similar to Earth, and it's not too late to restore it to its former glory. With some effort, we can transform Mars into a habitable planet and establish a permanent human presence there. However, there are those who disagree with Musk's plan. Critics argue that Mars is a harsh and unforgiving planet that offers little to humanity. They believe that the risks of sending astronauts there outweigh any potential benefits. Furthermore, these critics contend that Mars lacks the necessary conditions for human survival, such as a suitable atmosphere and ample supplies of water and resources. They also argue that attempting to colonize Mars could have negative consequences for the planet's environment and ecosystem. But despite these concerns, Musk remains optimistic about his plan to colonize Mars. He believes that with proper planning and execution, it is possible to make life multiplanetary and ensure the long-term survival of humanity. Time will tell whether his vision becomes a reality or whether the challenges prove to be too great to overcome. As exciting as the prospect of colonizing Mars is, it's important to acknowledge the risks involved. Attempting to establish a human presence on another planet is unprecedented and comes with inherent dangers. One of the primary concerns is the possibility of contamination. Introducing human or Earth-based life forms to Mars could potentially destroy any native life that exists there, thereby disrupting the planet's ecosystem. Moreover, the harsh environment of Mars poses significant challenges for human survival. The planet's thin atmosphere, extreme temperatures, and lack of liquid water make it inhospitable for humans without proper protection and life support systems. Additionally, the isolation and confinement associated with living on Mars could have detrimental effects on the mental health of the crew members, particularly considering the significant communication delays between Mars and Earth. Furthermore, there are practical challenges to consider, such as the transportation of people and resources to and from Mars. Establishing a self-sustaining colony would require numerous missions to transport the necessary supplies, equipment, and personnel to Mars. Moreover, the potential for accidents, equipment failures, or other unforeseen circumstances that could endanger the crew's safety and jeopardize the mission as a whole is a serious concern. So who will win the race to colonize Mars, NASA or SpaceX? Both organizations have their strengths and weaknesses, but ultimately it will come down to factors such as technological advancements, funding, international cooperation, and public support. While the prospect of human colonization on Mars is exciting, it is crucial to carefully assess the risks and challenges involved. By learning from past space exploration experiences and engaging in thorough planning, we can strive to mitigate potential hazards and ensure the safety of any astronauts who venture to Mars. The future of space exploration and colonization efforts depends on our ability to learn from previous missions, adapt to new challenges, and push the boundaries of human ingenuity. As we continue to explore the possibilities of life beyond Earth, it is essential to approach this endeavor with caution, responsibility, and a commitment to protecting the well-being of those who dare to venture into the great unknown. That's all for today's episode. Let us know in the comments below who you think will win the race to colonize Mars. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Your support keeps us motivated to create more quality content for you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.